Hey, book besties. Welcome to More Than a Book Club podcast. I'm your host, Leyna.
And I'm your other host, LJ.
Today, we are talking about our book club selection, which was I can't even say that word, Sense and Sensibility. It's a hard one to say both of them together.
It is.
By Jane Austen. So we've already read one Jane Austen book with this book club through our podcast.
We've read, this is the fourth.
Well, so with this podcast.
With the podcast. Yes, you're right.
Yes,
this is the second with
fourth.
the podcast. And unfortunately,
we read Pride and Prejudice earlier, right?
This year, with the book club, not here. We read Emma this year.
Okay, Emma.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm totally on top of things.
but you know what? I read 6 chapters of Sense and Sensibility, the book, and you read how many?
0.
But we watched the movie.
So we're going to talk about that because I think I have read the book previously.
I bet you have, and you just don't remember, because I have. I've read it twice, but it's been years.
And as I was watching the movie, I'm like, I remember this. I remember too much of this to not have read the book. So I think that I have read the book. That's my guess.
Because you hadn't seen the movie.
I had not seen the movie, and the movie was really good. I'm excited for us to kind of go into that discussion and talk about the characters and all of that good stuff. But before we do that, what have you been doing literary lately?
Well, Leyna, not a whole lot of reading, but I did finish The Anatomy of Motive by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker, and I'm sure the podcast is tired of hearing about John Douglas, but I am talking about books, so it counts. And the difference between this one and the other one that I read recently is this one really is they were looking at the motives behind various types of crime. So it wasn't just serial killers, but it did talk about the difference between serial killers, and I forget what the other ones are called that are more rampage killers. That might be what they're called, where they do a lot of kills back to back that they might look like a serial killer, but that quick succession is more as a different motivation than, say, a serial killer who maybe could kill someone, wait a few weeks, wait a month, wait a year before they do it again. And then it was really fascinating hearing the different ones for people that set fires and just the different motivations behind them based on the way they do it, how they do it, how many people it hurts versus does it hurt anyone at all. And so that one's kind of crazy. It's kind of like some of it's like the anonymous. Do they want to hurt someone anonymously or do they not want to hurt people at all? Or is this, it was fascinating. And then they're also like at the end, it was talking about different bombers and how like Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber, had different motivations than Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and how Timothy McVeigh didn't necessarily want fame, but Ted Kaczynski kind of did, but then also didn't want to get caught. And so it's just funny because then with Timothy McVeigh, we know he got arrested after he left the bombing for something completely unrelated and was already in custody for this different minor infraction when they realized they needed him. And so that was a lucky break. And then with Ted Kaczynski, he didn't like that he was overshadowed by the Oklahoma City bombing. I mean, what? And he sent letters, and his brother recognized the rhetoric in the letters and turned him in. Just kind of interesting.
Crazy.
It was very fascinating, which I know you're familiar with both of those too, Leyna, obviously.
Yes. And I lived in Oklahoma at the time of the Oklahoma City bombing. And I vividly remember that. I was like 4 hours away from Oklahoma City, but it's one of those things that as I was a young kid, because we were probably, it was like 93, 94.
We were in 7th grade.
Yeah. So it was, yeah.
Because I was
in Germany at the time. I'm not sure. But either way, it felt like it was like an attack on my hometown just because it was our state. Yeah.
I mean, we felt that way down because I was in Dallas. And I remember the way I found out was I was in a class and a teacher from across the hall came in crying to talk to our teacher. And it was that there was an English teacher came into this classroom, and she was saying that another English teacher had received a call about it because her sister worked there. And I didn't ever hear what happened, if her sister was there or not. But I just remember all of us being confused, like, what's going on? Because we didn't have TVs in our classroom or anything like the internet, back then. But it's just crazy to be like, wow, that was so close. Even though we were in Texas, It's like, that's just right up there. It's 3.5 hours, I think, to Oklahoma City from here.
It's
So it's
not far at all.
crazy. It's not far at all. But yeah, but in other news, I started Throne of Glass because Lena's reading Throne of Glass, and I'm on chapter 20 or 36% in, which how far are you in?
I'm 42%, so just a little bit ahead of you. Not
Just
far.
a little bit. Yeah. And then I'm still doing my 90-day Bible reading plan. Today, the day we're recording, I'm on day 17, and I've been doing that right before bed. And it seems to be a good little right before I put on my little sitcom to fall asleep to. And then I read exactly 6 chapters of Sense and Sensibility. And that's all I've done literary lately. What about you, Lena?
So I also feel like mine has been kind of up and down this last week because I really wanted to finish Mistborn, which is what my husband and I were reading, and he finished ahead of me. And like last Saturday, I think I had read 150, 200 pages to get caught up to him. And then Sunday, he finished it. And I was like, that's not fair. So I think between Sunday and Monday, I read, it was like 300 pages. I read a lot
And that was a
just so I could
physical
get
book.
done. It was a physical book. It's a big book. And it really did hold your attention the whole way through. It had amazing characters. I had several people recommend this one to me because of the characters and the world building and things like that. And I'm really glad that they did because I think that it was just a masterful storytelling. It's my first Brandon Sanderson book too. And I definitely want to read the next one. My husband wants to read the next one. And this is a trilogy. So if we were already talking about, when we're going to start reading the next one and see if we can kind of keep this going. I don't know if we're going to jump out and like go get it right now. Might give him a
Yeah.
break. This was his first book. We were talking about it. He read his last book in 2006 when we were on a cruise.
Oh my
So
gosh.
what's that? Almost 20 years, 19 years. So
And
this
what
is his
book was
second book in
that, out of
19 years.
curiosity?
Aragon, it was the one that was like
Okay.
a dragon.
Yeah.
I did not read that book then because I
I
was
didn't
like, oh, I
either.
don't like fantasy. Little did I know, I do.
Right.
But
Same.
just hadn't found the right books. But this one it was definitely a really good book. So I would recommend it to other people. Um, Even if fantasy isn't your typical genre, because
Mhm.
it's about a rebellion. It's about a thieving crew working together. It's found family. There's so much more to this book than meets the eye. So definitely give it a read. I also finished An American in Scotland. And that one, it's set in Edinburgh. It's an American doctor that goes to the small island in Scotland to start being a doctor there, just to kind of get away from her life. And then a murder happens and, you know, hijinks occur from there. But it really is. It was just like a fun little, I won't call it a cozy mystery because I feel like in cozy mysteries, people don't really die and there's not blood or high
Yeah.
stakes. And there was a little bit of the high stakes to this because there's a killer on the loose that comes after her. So there is a little bit of that, but it was enjoyable. I gave it 3.5 stars. So it's not like one of my favorite reads. I will definitely continue the series because it is
That's cool.
several books. Lucy Connolly, I think, was the author of that one. Um, I also started reading the Adam Silvera's The Survivor Wants to Live at the End.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I think that
Either
sounds
way.
right.
I liked his other two books, and I was probably like 15 to 20% into this book. First of all, we had talked about it last time. It's 18 hours long, like listening
Yes.
hours. It's a long book. While it started out good, the very beginning, the author's note, it does have a trigger warning that the book is about suicide and suicidal ideation. And I was coming off of a week of very little sleep. And I was like, I just don't know if this is the right book for me right now.
Mhm.
So I set that one aside. And it was a library book that had been on hold for forever. So that also
Oh, no.
sucks that I'm going to have to wait again. But I was like, I'm just not in the right headspace to enjoy this. So I
Right.
put it down. And then I have Throne of Glass, that I'm reading. And that is also a physical book. And it was kind of funny because I was trying to finish that by today because Neighbor Books is doing a book club for it. And I was like, there's just no way. There's just
Oh,
no
is
way.
it today? Is the book
It's
club
today.
supposed to be
It's
today?
tonight. But I'm only
Oh,
42% in, and I was trying to read both Throne of Glass and get the Mistborn book done. And I was like, I have to choose one or the other, and I choose the one that my husband's reading. So
I
I
think you
feel like
chose
I
wisely.
made the right choice.
You
I
did.
very much enjoyed that book. I'm very much enjoying Throne of Glass, which I wasn't thinking I was going to. Um, but that's really good. And then when I turned in my audiobook, The Survivor Wants to Die at the End, I was like, I need something different. And our friend Emily was reading the new Dan Brown book. And I was like, I pre-purchased that through Audible. So I started listening to that. And I love Robert Langdon.
Yeah. What
I
is the
need more
name
of
of
him in
this
my
new
life.
one?
It's The Secret of Secrets.
Secret of Secrets. Okay. Because I think that's supposed to be this month, right?
Yes, I think.
I think so too. And
I think so.
I didn't read August, Sensibility. So, okay.
Get with it, LJ.
I know.
But this is a good book. I will say that um, I'm probably like 15-20% in. There's a character that, because there's a character that has epilepsy. And
Okay.
she's
Ooh.
describing epilepsy, like the way that they're talking about it. Like some people come out of their seizure and they have this like
Yeah.
high, and it's like the best feeling in the world. I'm like, I don't relate to that at all. So I'm having a little bit of a tough time with that just because I'm like, no, it's terrifying. And you don't
Right?
know what day it is. And
Like,
you're supposed to
what?
do neuro checks on people that have had a seizure and be like, who's the president? And do you know where you are? And not being able to answer those questions does not elicit a state of happiness for me.
Yeah.
It's just,
Euphoria, a little
yeah,
euphoria.
it is more fear and anxiety. So that took me out of the story a little bit. So I'm trying to be like, no, I'm sure other people experience things differently. And I do know that some people with seizures, certain types of seizures,
Might
um,
have that.
might have that, and they have more hallucinations and things like that. But I just have tonic clonic where I'm just out and don't remember anything. And I don't have an
Oh my
aura, so I don't know
gosh.
when's coming. So that has taken me out of it a little bit. But overall, it's a good book so far. I'm
Okay,
enjoying it.
because welcome to the world of reading books with type 1 diabetics. So often they are so off base, it's ridiculous, but that's
And
okay.
I'm trying to give this the benefit of the doubt because I know Dan Brown does a lot of research for his books.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm not the only person with epilepsy. My story may not be everybody else's story.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to just have an open mind about it, but I don't
Okay,
know anybody that
question.
has had that.
Have you rewatched Garden State since your diagnosis?
I have never watched Garden State.
Oh, okay, I don't know if it would mean as much now because I watched it
I
in
love Zach
college.
Braff.
Oh my gosh, it was like in college, it was so good. Like we really related to the characters and like kind of the thing. But maybe you would like because Natalie Portman's character has epilepsy.
Hmm. Okay.
And so, and like, I mean, this is kind of funny. It's funny, but it's not. I don't know. She was like an ice skater that had to quit because of the epilepsy. But then the video they watch, it's like someone in like a full on like animal costume skating around the ring. So you can't tell who's in it. And I don't know. It's just funny. Like, anyway, there's so much. It's a good movie. Now I want to go watch that. But I think you should watch it, just and let me know your thoughts. Epilepsy isn't a huge part of it. It's kind of like a secret she's trying to keep.
Gotcha. And I feel like there's not as many movies or books that have a character with epilepsy.
Mm-mm.
Um, my sister's keeper, the lawyer in that, the little sister's lawyer had epilepsy. That's why he had a service dog. Um, but yeah, I don't really know a ton of books that have epileptics, which epilepsy is a pretty common
Yeah.
thing. Lots of people have seizures, but
I've had lots of students with it. So,
yeah.
yeah, well,
But
we'll
yeah,
see. And maybe she'll watch Garden State and we'll report back.
I am excited. Speaking of Zach Braff, they're bringing back Scrubs.
Is he going to be on it?
Yes, they're like, I think almost all of the main cast is
Oh,
coming back.
cool.
So
Because I
I'm
loved
excited
that
about that. I
cast.
loved Scrubs. It was just such a fun show. I've tried
It was such a
rewatching
fun
it
show.
now and it wasn't quite the same, but
I still like it. I love all of them.
I have a soft spot for it. I think I was watching it with my kids like 2 or 3 years ago, and they may have just been a little bit too young for it, and there was, like,
Mm.
some sexual innuendo, and I was like, I don't know about that." So,
Well, and if you don't know, one of the, like, the oh my gosh, what is his name? The really feisty doctor and his wife comes on, and they, like, hate each other, but
Dr.
they love each other.
Cox?
Dr. Cox, his
I'm like, I don't
wife.
remember what his name is in real life.
Yeah. No, I don't know his name in real life either, but Dr. Cox, whoever his wife played his wife, was on Cougar Town, so then a lot of
Yes.
the actors from Scrubs were also on Cougar Town, which I love that. That's how you know that these must be really good people, if they all stayed friends and they all wanna, support
Help
each
each
other
other
that way.
out and yeah,
Yes, like, I loved that, I love it. That's another good show too, Cougar Town. Horrible name,
yes.
great show.
I watched a season or 2 of it. I didn't watch it all the way to the end, but I did watch some of it and enjoyed it, so
When I rewatched some a couple years ago, and I would say on the rewatch, I enjoyed it more because I think having, being closer at the age, like, at the beginning, her son's
Right.
in high school,
Mhm.
like, then it was more like, it made a little bit more sense. Now it'll make even more sense. I should watch it now because 'cause I've divorced and she was divorced, but my
Yep.
ex is not around all the time like Bobby
Ye
is on
right.
that show. Anyway, whatever. It's fine.
But yeah, I read 0 of Sensibility, but I do think I have read it before, so I'm
I'm
gonna
sure
count
you
that
did
as a
because you
win.
told me you had read, like, the other ones at some a lot of them in the past, so I bet you
Yes.
did.
I think the only one I haven't read is Northanger Abbey.
Okay. And that
So,
one's good. It's
yeah.
a little less mature writing, but it's a little cheesy, but it's good.
So you really enjoy Jane Austen, right?
I do. I have to be in the right mood.
Okay.
Like, if I'm in the wrong mood, I won't enjoy it.
And
But
I
yes.
think I really enjoy Jane Austen movies because
Oh, I
you had
love
me
those
watch,
too.
um, Emma,
Emma.
and then you had me watch this one,
Mhm.
Sensibility, and I really think that I enjoyed the movies way better than
And the
the
books.
books. Part of that, I think I was probably listening to the books, and I have a hard time whenever I'm listening to an audiobook that has, an English accent.
Mhm.
Like, it makes me I have to slow it down.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to listen to. Maybe it would be better if I read it, I don't know, like, on a printed page, but the movies
I will
were really
say
funny, and you get to see the reactions. I
mhm.
think that
Mhm.
helps.
It definitely helps, and it doesn't hurt that, especially Sense and Sensibility. I don't remember if it was original screenplay or what, but Emma Thompson wrote it, and she won the Oscar for that. So, I mean, that speaks to the quality of the whole setup, which we know the story obviously is Jane Austen's. And I will say it does follow the book from what I remember very well. There's just one thing that we'll get to that they leave out that I'm actually really glad they left out because I didn't like this part in the book. So,
Okay,
but we'll get to that.
I'm very curious about that part because I wanna hear it. Do you wanna give a quick breakdown
Mhm.
of kind of what happens in this book since you've read 6 chapters?
Yes.
Do you remember, or do you need like,
Okay.
we've both seen the movie recently, so
We've yeah, yeah. I can do it. Okay, so the way the story goes, it starts out where we see this man on his deathbed with his son, and he's telling him about how the way this property was left to him, it all of it goes to his son. But he has a second wife with 3 daughters who he cares about, and he's like, please take care of them because I can only leave them so much. And so the son's like, of course, I promise. Well, so then fast forward, the dad dies. In the movie, it's a little bit different. In the book, they show up like right after the funeral to move into this house and take over his wife. And I don't know, I think in the book she has their son with them. We never hear about a son or anything in the movie, but they come in, they're trying to find a new place to live because they have to move and they don't have a lot of money. And in the meantime, the wife has talked the husband into not giving them any financial support, which is just awful. And anyway, but before they can leave, her brother comes to visit. So the
okay,
brother in law,
so this
okay,
is we're saying husband, wife, son,
I know we're
so
saying all these things.
it is the son is
Of the
the son
sister.
of the
Okay, so wait.
dying man is the
Okay, wait.
brother of Eleanor.
Is he Robert Dashwood or John Dashwood? Is the dad John? This is horrible. I should have names. Okay.
I'm like,
Okay. We're going to say. Brother Dashwood. Okay,
Brother
Brother
Dashwood.
Dashwood and Fanny is his wife, and they
Yes.
come to take over the house that now belongs to Brother Dashwood. That sounds like I'm talking about a priest, but I'm not. And then in the meantime, um, Mrs. Dashwood, Eleanor, Marianne, and
Margaret.
Margaret, thank you, have been living here their whole lives. And so now they don't have much money. They're trying to figure out where to go. And Fanny's brother comes to stay. And while he's there, he connects very well with the the Mrs. Dashwoods, and especially with Margaret and with Eleanor. And you kind of start to see like perhaps an attachment, as they said back in those days, forming. And Mrs. Dashwood gets a thing that shows that she can go live in a cottage with by her cousin's estate, but she holds off telling Eleanor because she wants to wait and see what happens here. Well, then she has a conversation with Fanny where Fanny all but says, she's not good enough. My mother will never say yes. And so then Ms. Dashwood announces, okay, we have this place. And so they go on their way. Now in the movie, we have a conversation where, oh my gosh, what is his name?
The
Edward
brother,
Ferrars.
Edward Ferrars.
That is the one that's come to visit. Edward tries to have a conversation with Eleanor about something in his past. And it seems really like, what is the point of this? And then he gets jerked away by his sister. So we don't know what's going on. In the book, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
So fast forward, they move into the cottage. These this cousin lives with his mother-in-law. His wife has died. He lives with his mother-in-law, and they are just honestly, this is what I think about them. I think that they are what we all would be if it was socially appropriate and no one cared about anything. I think we'd all be, like, I think I could embrace that if there would be no judgment my way. Like they're
They
just
had no
jolly.
filter.
They had
They
no
were
filter.
so happy, and they're just like, we're just gonna make things
Yes.
happen and joke
And
about things.
joke
And
about that. And so in the
yeah,
meantime, they meet a friend of theirs, Colonel Brandon, who's very wealthy, who lives in the area, and he's older. I think in the book he's supposed to be like in his 40s, not like I feel like Alan Rickman was already maybe in his 50s or close in that time. And so he's played by Alan Rickman, and he like falls in love at first sight with Marianne, but he's not pushy, but the Jennings are. That's who the ones that are
the
living
cousins.
there.
Yeah.
And then they also meet one day this guy Willoughby, who then Marianne falls heavy for. So then I'm leaving out stuff, but we can get back to it. The main idea is that she falls for him. We think he's going to propose. He ends up leaving town. Then a little bit later, the daughter of Mrs. Jennings, Charlotte, shows up with her
Mhm.
husband, Hugh Laurie, who is the comedic relief of this movie.
Which was
And
hilarious.
he's so funny. I love every time he speaks. And so they come and they bring this Miss Lucy Steele, who, like, they know and who has been begging to meet the Dashwood girls. And Eleanor's like, why? Like, we don't know you. And Lucy pulls her away. And basically, Eleanor finds out that Edward has been engaged to Lucy for a very long time and promises Lucy she will not say anything to anyone. Well, then Mrs. Jennings is like, we're all going to go to London. And so they all go to London. Marianne, played by Kate Hudson, Eleanor, played by Emma Thompson, Lucy Steele, played by someone, I don't know, Mrs.
It's not
Jennings,
Kate Hudson, is it?
not Kate Hudson, Kate Winslet, wrong name.
Kate Winslet. I was like,
Kate
I know
Winslet's,
it's a Kate,
no,
but
it's not Kate Hudson, Kate Winslet, sorry, Kate Winslet. And then, that'd be a very different movie.
yeah, I
And
was
then
like, wait a second.
And then, Charlotte and her husband, Hugh Laurie, and so they go, and so Marianne and Eleanor are going to stay with Miss Jennings. I think Lucy was at first, or maybe she was staying with Charlotte and her husband. That wasn't very clear at the beginning.
She was staying, I think, with Miss Jennings, but then
After
Fanny
Yeah,
was
okay,
like,
after
come
that.
stay with me.
Yes, okay, so then they're there, and Marianne's trying to get a hold of Willoughby, and letter after letter, nothing, nothing. They go to a ball, and he's there, and he's with his fiancée, and so
That's
all
how
this
she
stuff
finds out that he's engaged
that's how she
because
finds out he's engaged to someone else.
at a ball.
It
And I think it's important to say, too, that Marianne, she falls head over heels and does not give a rip what society thinks,
Nope.
what a woman should be doing. It's very clear that she has fallen head over heels. It's very clear that he's in love with her.
Yes.
Like, they
They
don't
throw
shy
all
away from
caution
it.
to the wind.
Yes, which was not at that time what would happen.
No.
So
No. And everyone's happy for them. I mean, Eleanor's a little before all this happens, Eleanor's a little bit like more reserved and she's like, but and that they're being rude to people. But anyway, so she finds this out. Also at this same ball, we meet Robert Ferris, who is Edward's brother and Fanny's brother. And they leave the ball and Lucy stays and she's dancing with him and stuff. And after that, like right after that already, she's already staying, I think, at that point with Fanny. So Marianne the next day gets a message back from Willoughby apologizing for basically misleading her. And Eleanor's like, well, thank goodness he let you go of your engagement. She's like, well, we weren't engaged. And she's trying to justify Willoughby and all this stuff. But Eleanor's like, everyone knows that y'all loved each other. And anyway, so then I left out right here, the best line when she's writing to Willoughby when she gets back from the ball. She's writing to him one last time. The best line, I think, in this entire, and I think it's in the book too. Eleanor's like trying to talk to her, and Eleanor's like, why? She's like, well, why don't you say that? I have nothing to say. She's, well, I don't either. I, because I conceal nothing, and you, because you, what did she say? Like,
you
reveal
say
nothing,
nothing or reveal,
but it was like
yeah.
fancier language. And I was like,
Yes.
that is a good line. So then they decide they're going to leave London. But before that, do you want to share what happens with what they find out before that about Mr. Willoughby?
They
Do you
find
remember?
out. Yes. So Colonel Brandon, I almost called him
Yes.
Colonel Mustard.
I was thinking that in my head too.
Colonel Brandon had a ward, a,
Hmm.
a daughter, basically, that he was taking care of. And it came to pass that this ward, who was a teenage girl, had known Mr. Willoughby. Mr. Willoughby and her had formed an attachment, and she got pregnant, and he left her. And they find this out. Willoughby is kind of a cad, I guess they would call him back then. He had left this girl pregnant and basically penniless.
Hmm.
And his cousin, who was the one that was giving him an inheritance, found out about it and basically said, you're disowned. So cut him out of the
Hmm.
will. And that's why he was getting engaged to
Miss Gray with her
Miss
50,000
Gray.
pounds.
Yes. And that's why he had left Marianne, was because of money.
Hmm.
And we find this out, and Marianne is still devastated. And she's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I get it.
well, and
Yeah.
Colonel Brandon also shared, he's like, I do have it on good authority that had that not happened, he was planning to propose to Marianne.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so she's still unhappy, obviously.
But at least she knew that she was loved.
Yeah, that it wasn't
But
all in her head.
then it's also this point of, this is getting into the discussion, but is love more than money? Because he leaves for the money, basically. And
Yeah.
Marianne even has a point in the conversation, I think once they make it back to the countryside, that they're
Hmm.
talking, the two sisters. And she's like, yes, he left because of money, but if he would have left and been penniless and married me, he would have had love, but where would that have gotten us? Would he have been bitter about it? Would his lifestyle have changed so much that he would grow to resent me? That kind of thing. And I was like,
Yes.
she's supposed to be an older teenager, I think.
In the
But
book, she's 16 starting
yeah,
out.
I was like, but I felt like that was some emotional growth for someone her age,
Definitely.
to
Yes.
recognize that he would not love her fully because his
Hmm.
lifestyle had changed. And I was like, man, that's grown up thoughts for a teenager. But
Yeah. Oh,
also,
definitely.
how hard would that be? I mean, just for Marianne and Eleanor to have gone from being wealthy and taken care of and
Hmm.
expected to have dowries, but then their father dies and they don't have dowries. Their brother isn't really supporting them. They only get like a was it 500 pounds a year for all of them or something?
Okay, so in the book, it's like 500 each a year, I think. So it's more, but still it's nothing.
Yeah, compared to what
But
they were
they
used to.
but they were still able to keep some servants. So there was that. They still were not as far, but you're right.
Destitute. Yeah.
Like he's a gentleman, and how would that do for him? Because he had his own estate too already. And so if he's being disinherited, he was gonna be dependent on that money. Probably some of that money was already supporting him. And and so, yeah, I think you're right. That was major emotional growth on her part. So we find that out. We also have Lucy who's staying with Fanny and who's trying to like figure out like who do you like? Who are you into? And when she tells her that it's Edward, she like grabs her by the like she attacks her, grabs her by the nose, like
Yes.
anyway. And so then the engagement becomes public, and before they leave London, Colonel Brandon, because the ward that he had was the child of a woman he had once been in love with, that what his family would not allow him to marry. And when he came back from his military service, he looked for her and found her like dying in a poorhouse, and she had this child. So he took her on as his ward. And so because of this, he's like, I hear about this. I know that Edward Ferrars and Lucy Steele are dear to you guys. I would like to set them up in my parish, because he wanted to be a priest all along, but his mom said that wasn't good enough. And so that he's setting him up there. And so we know that that's where that's headed. And then they leave London, and they stop on the way home at um like Charlotte and her husband's home. And she managed to mention, because she does not stop talking on the way, that they can see Willoughby's estate from the top of
Yes.
their land. And that's one of my favorite, when she's like, I'll have to get our gardener to plant tall trees over there so we can't see it. And her husband's like, you'll do
It's like,
nothing of the
no.
sort. And like the thing is, he doesn't raise his voice. He just says it. Like it's like they
Yes.
don't hear each other. Like they
And
just
it's
are
almost
having,
like she was having hysterics and just
yeah,
being like, well, we're just going to do everything to hate this man. And he's like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's not what we're
But
going to do.
but then they get there, and Marianne's like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk. And Eleanor's like, "Oh, it's gonna rain." She's like, "I'll just stay in the gardens." And but then she doesn't stay in the gardens, and it does start pouring, and so they figure out where she must have been headed. So Colonel Brandon was with them because he was gonna take them from their home the next day, goes and finds her and rescues her, and she becomes very sick and almost dies, and he goes home to get her mom and bring her back. And so after that, like, that's when we see a change in attitude of Marianne towards him, because she intentionally goes out of her way to thank him for rescuing her.
And for
And
bringing her mom
and
and
bringing
like,
her mom and, like, all that. And so they go back home, and, she takes a while to recuperate, but she's spending time with Colonel Brandon. She gets a little bit sad when he says he has to leave, but he'll be back. And then comes the best of the movie, when well, no, okay, first they're eating or something. They're doing stuff in the kitchen or in the breakfast room, and they find out that Edward's married, or so they think, because they saw
they saw the
the
Mrs. Ferris is
who
how they say it.
formerly Lucy Steele.
Yes.
But then Edward shows up, and they're all like, "How's Mrs. Ferris?" He's like, "My mom is fine." And then they're like, "No, we were inquiring about,
The
like,
younger
Mrs.
Mrs.
Edward
Ferris. Yeah.
Ferris." And he's like, "Oh, you haven't heard. Your affection's transferred to my brother, and since my financial situation is the same," which is what's so weird to me. Why is
Yes.
it okay for for his brother to marry Lucy Steele and get all the money, but it wasn't okay for Edward to do the same? That does not make sense to me.
That does not make sense to
And
me either. I had the same problem with that. I was like, did the mom just kind of give up at that point? Like,
I
apparently
don't
this
know,
Lucy Still girl is just going to be part of our family, or
because what
yeah.
I felt is that Fanny wanted Edward to marry well, and then she would have been happy with Robert marrying Lucy, because Robert was going to be penniless anyway.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I felt. So I don't know. But anyway, then we don't get to see it, but we get to see it through not Marianne, through Margaret's eyes, because she climbs up in the treehouse and can see him getting down on one knee. And so we know they got married, because the very last scene is Marianne and Colonel Brandon walking out from their wedding, and they come out after them. And anyway, it's a lovely, happy ending for them.
And I watched
So,
this movie with my daughter,
mhm.
and she is not one into romance movies or anything like that. And the first thing she was like, this is so funny how they keep saying mama, mama, because they were saying it very proper. And so we kind of laughed about that. But then every time a new character came on, I'd be like, oh, that's Alan Rickman. That's Professor Snape. Oh, was it Catherine? That's Professor Umbridge.
Mhm.
Like just going through and naming everybody from Harry Potter movies because there's so many. So that was
Charlotte.
kind of
Charlotte
fun.
is the one that's
Charlotte.
Umbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So going through and doing that. And then we
that
talked
made it
about Hugh
fun.
Grant because Hugh Grant
Mhm.
plays Edward Ferrars. Um, just fun. And then we talked about how awful Fanny was because Fanny is awful. She's the one
She
that
is,
convinces her husband to basically not disinherit because they didn't get the inheritance, but to not keep his word to his dying father to
right?
help out his sisters and stepmother. So I did not like her. I hope that
She's the
she gets
worst.
her comeuppance.
I mean,
But
yeah. No, she's definitely the absolute worst. Okay, so let's go back. Should we go back to the beginning and talk about some? I don't know. How do we want to do this? Or any
so what
thoughts?
parts I guess were your favorite? Like
Um, let's see here. I don't know. That's a tough question because I just love the whole movie. Like, I first watched it, I was at lunch with my mom earlier and we were talking about this. And she was like, I remember I rented it from Blockbuster in the 90s and I watched it without you. And like maybe you had spent the night at a friend's house and you came home and I was like, this is such a great movie. You have to watch it. It's the best movie I've ever seen. And then we watched it. And I remember us renting it, or maybe she bought it finally. And I remember watching it several times with her in high school, and since. So I don't know I don't know what would be my favorite part. I think I mean, I just love Hugh Laurie's character. It's such a minor part, but it just always tickles me every time when he talks. I think the ending when Emma Thompson finally breaks down and like releases
yes.
all of
And
like
finds
that
out that
is
he's
like,
not married and yeah,
yes, like that moment is the best when you know they're about to get their happy ending. I don't know.
yes.
What about you?
And that was Piper, my daughter, was watching it with me and she's like, this is how it's going to end? And I'm like, no,
Mhm,
Piper, this is a romance. Like, everybody's
mhm,
going to get their happy ever after. Just, you got to keep with it just a few more minutes. I guarantee
mhm,
you it's going to have a happy ever after. I think one of my favorite parts is when you get to see Marianne carried by Willoughby the first time. So she
mhm.
meets Willoughby after she's fallen down a hill and sprains her
Yeah.
ankle, and he carries her, and it's all this heroic, oh, look, he's carrying her in, and they're falling all over themselves basically for him. And it's this like weird romance, insincerity. I don't know. But then later on, whenever Marianne gets sick and Colonel Brandon comes and he carries her in, it's almost like you can feel the actual love there rather than infatuation. And
Yeah.
it's the same scene where she's getting carried in, but it's a totally different response. In the
Mhm.
first scene, Willoughby sets her up, says, oh, her leg's not broken, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
But Colonel Brandon stays with her and is making sure that she's okay.
Yeah.
He like paces the floor and he's like, I have to know what I can do to help. Like, give me something to do. And that's when he go gets the mother because he cares about her on a different level than what Willoughby would have. Willoughby just thought, oh, that's a pretty girl. And
Right.
that's kind of what you come out with his character a little bit. Like he's not as I feel like Colonel Brandon is the type of person that would stick up for someone that they love. And
Yeah.
I mean, he took in his ex-girlfriend, I don't know if that's what you would call her,
I guess.
her child after she died. Um,
Mhm.
Even though it wasn't his child, but
Yeah.
he cared enough about her that he wanted to honor her, I guess. So he has a deep moral compass. And I think
He
that
does.
seeing that happen and seeing the juxtaposition of the two was really nice. And then seeing Marianne realize that she loves him. Because at first she was like, I want someone who, quotes poetry and does all these big romantic gestures. And then she realizes that the big romantic gestures are in the everyday. So that's kind of how I feel. That was one of my favorite moments is Marianne, I guess, growing up. Because like you said, she was 16 and she's
Mhm.
growing up and realizing that, pretty things fade, but love is
Yeah.
different. That makes
Okay, I
sense.
have to tell you about the part that is not in the movie.
Yes, I want to hear this.
Okay, so I'm thinking, because I've looked it up to see what chapter this happens. Okay, so I think it's when they're still at Charlotte's house, and she thinks it's her mom arriving back in the carriage, and she goes and opens the door, and it's Willoughby, like when Marianne's sick. And he like is like for half an hour, for 10 minutes, I entreat you to stay. Like he wants to talk to her. Um,
To Eleanor?
yeah, and so anyway, he finds out that Miriam was, like, dying, and then he finds out that she's okay, and then he comes here and he wants to, he basically gets to explain himself, and that annoys me so much that Jane Austen let him share his regrets of the whole situation. It's like, "No." But he basically gets a nice long thing. If you wanna read it, it's in chapter 44. If you wanna skip ahead, it's on, and,
So that makes me wonder, though, because in Jane Austen times, sometimes you did have to marry for money and not for love.
yeah.
And I wonder if by him explaining himself, that was her way of telling other girls who maybe had been jilted because of money issues
Yeah.
that that was okay, that that was a normal happenstance or something. I don't know.
I don't know either, but that I was like, "No." I remember when I got to that in the book and I was like, "Oh, hell no,"
Yeah.
because I definitely saw the movie first.
And I can see Eleanor is she is the Sense and Sensibility. Like she's the sensible one. She's the
Mhm.
practical one. And I can see her having a hard time with this person that has deeply hurt her sister, who
Oh,
she
yeah, like, she
deeply
tries
loves.
in this, she
Yeah.
tries to, like, "No, I will not stay. No, I don't wanna hear," basically. So she does try to do that.
And I imagine that's really hard for her to hear. And I know that she
Mhm.
had trouble whenever Colonel Brandon was being very kind and Marianne was kind of ignoring him for
I
Willoughby.
know.
And that was very sad because you could see that I think that even Eleanor was like, Colonel Brandon's a catch. Like he has
Yeah.
all of the like he has true feelings for her rather than
Mhm.
infatuation, which it makes me think that Willoughby has an infatuation just based on the fact that he got the ward pregnant.
Yeah.
Like got her pregnant and then left. Would something similar happen with Marianne if given the chance? Or
Well, so here's the difference because the ward was not living with Colonel Brandon. He was paying for her to be kept somewhere with some other
yes,
family. So we don't know that situation either. So I think in this, especially with his aunt, here's the thing, his aunt living nearby, that would not have if he had done that in her neighborhood, like that would not have been okay, I don't think. But who's to say? Who's to say? I don't know. I don't know, but we know, like, even in today, like, there are scoundrels who will do that to one woman and then marry the next. Like, we just don't know. But yeah, I think you're right about that, about Jane Austen showing other girls, like, you're not alone. This happens. And sometimes someone might be in love with you and they can't because of money. They have no choice, or it would be a huge shift in their lives. And back then, especially because this was early 1800s, like, these estates, it wasn't like you went and sold an estate. Like, we know what people did because of books like Mansfield Par or Persuasion. I don't think it happens in Mansfield Park, but Persuasion, where they let their house for a while and kinda make off like, "Oh, we're gonna be gone for a while. These people wanna stay here while we're gone." Like, but then they're getting paid, basically leasing out their home. And all that, pride and perception was so important. So I mean, I guess that's why I don't want him to get to have a say. I don't wanna feel sympathetic to him, but the way they do include it in the movie is that we see her when at the wedding, we see Willoughby looking on from afar.
yes. And he's kind of like sad puppy dog eyes, kind of,
Yeah,
but
like, he's, like, all depressed. So,
because
yeah.
he didn't marry for love, he married for money. So I'm guessing that marriage does not
Right.
bode very well, but who knows?
No.
Um,
I don't know. But
one of
she
the
didn't like, even that woman didn't look that into him.
no, which makes me wonder, like, was it just yeah, what was she getting out of it? Who knows? But
I mean, she
you
probably
also,
didn't
I mean,
know that he'd been cut off. She probably didn't know he'd been cut off.
true, true, that could be. The The opening part, though, I think Jane Austen touches on a lot, where inheritance, when someone dies, where the house is gonna go, who's it gonna go to, um, or at least this book touched on a lot. I feel like there's another Jane Austen book that also touches on it, about the women being passed over and the money going to the son or the next male relative. I could be wrong.
I know, I don't know. Let me try to think, 'cause in Pride and Prejudice, it's all girls. In Emma, it's all girls. But it was gonna skip over eventually her stuff. Oh, no, that was just for the brother. That's why she didn't want Mr. Knightley to marry, because if he didn't marry, then everything would go to his younger, because it was the younger brother that married her older sister. So if okay, so let me think. So it kinda had something to do with that, 'cause, maybe, but not really. Okay, let's think. Northanger Abbey, no. Mansfield Park, no. So maybe I'm trying
Maybe
to
just
think.
this one?
Maybe it's just this one. I don't know.
I feel like maybe it's just like, I just watched Downton Abbey, the movie,
Yeah.
yesterday. I took my mom to go see that, so it's in my head thinking
It's
about
all
that
this
time
stuff,
period
yeah.
and families being passed down and it not going to the
Mhm,
daughter, it went to the son, and
mhm.
that was the way the law was written then,
Well,
and
even dude, even, like, in the 2000s, was it Prince Charles or the Queen? Someone had to set it up so that if Kate had a girl, then their child could still get the throne if there was a
I didn't know
boy.
that.
Yeah, that was just a recent change.
Wow,
Because the reason it wasn't an issue with Queen Elizabeth is she only had a sister. So, yeah, isn't that crazy?
did not know that.
I didn't know that either until recently.
Can you imagine, though? Like, that's just such a weird concept to me that you could be kicked out of the house that you've lived in all your life
Mhm.
and be forced to go somewhere else because
Okay,
your
this
closest
did
male
come in Pride and
relative
Prejudice. This did come up in Pride and Prejudice
Okay.
because what's his name? The guy we don't like. What is his name? Oh, he's so annoying. The relative that comes and stays with them that Charlotte Lucas marries. What is his name? Oh my gosh, I gotta look this up. I can't believe I can't think of his name.
I can't think of it either. I have a hard enough time keeping the storyline straight for those.
I know, I know. Hang on, I'm going to the movie because that's easier. Mr. Collins.
Okay.
That was the relative that was going to inherit it, and then you're right, it did come up in there because then he was like, "Well, I'll marry one of your daughters then."
Yeah.
So
And
then it stays in the
he the
family.
priest guy
Yeah,
or the
he,
preacher
like
guy?
yeah,
Yeah.
with, whatever her name is, Judi Dench. That's all the characters. It's the ones when I know their real names. Let me see, I'll look it up, hang on. Lady Catherine de Bourgh or whatever,
The
or
name
something,
sounds
wait.
familiar, but
It got cut off in here, so I'm looking. Where is she on here? Lady Catherine de Bourgh, yes. So, yeah, he was at the parish there, which is essentially what Hugh Grant's Edward was
character,
gonna be
yeah.
for, what's
Colonel
his
Mustard.
Colonel Brandon, which I love that they're all gonna be there together,
Yes,
right?
and that is very sweet that they'll all be near each other and get to
Mhm.
have their kids be together, like, that'll be fun.
Yeah. I know. I do love that. Um,
And then it turned out too that even though the second cousins were brash, gossipy, whatever, they were very caring and very
mhm,
loving to these
mhm.
girls and their mother.
So
So,
kind-hearted, like, even 'cause they were there for the way that Marianne acted at that ball, like, people thought it was scandalous, the fact that she was writing all these letters and just how accepting they were, and we're just like, "Well, that's just part of youth," or "That's" and then when poor Lucy Steele, the stuff went down there, and again, like, as gossipy as these people are, part of me gets the feeling that they were like, it was like they had their circle of people, like, that they were not gonna go badmouth their people,
right.
but I don't
And I
even
don't
think that
think they
things.
really bad-mouthed
No, they
anybody.
just stated
It
they
was more
repeated
about
facts.
Yeah, more about just like joking and taunting, and
Mhm.
they knew that
Teasing.
Eleanor liked someone. His last name started with an
Well,
F, and
and
like
then
they were, yeah,
immediately when Marianne is heartbroken, she's like, "I'll go find something to tempt her."
yeah,
And, like, I just love that about her, like and even, like, all the things that she would find out, it really wasn't in malice. Like, I don't think there was a malicious bone in that woman's body,
no,
but
they were
just ugh,
just
I know.
very sweet people that just, like you said, they had no filter, they had no,
Mhm.
and they weren't doing anything mean or
No.
things like that. But it
They
was
were
just
just
a fun,
excited.
it was a fun movie, and I feel like I've read it before. And so I was just reading the wiki for Sense and
Mhm.
Sensibility, the book, and they said the ward's name was Eliza. I'm pretty sure in the movie they said her name was
That was
Beth.
and I think Eliza was the girl that he was in love with.
Okay. So,
Because he says, "I'm sure that Miss Jennings has told you about something with a woman named Eliza," and that was his
okay.
love. I think his love was Eliza, and when he came back, you're right, the other girl was something else.
Because whenever they mentioned Beth, that's when I was like, I've read this in the book. Because I feel like at one point, Colonel Brandon in the book goes to go visit her,
Maybe,
and we see her and the baby. I
maybe.
feel
I'm gonna
like,
Google that.
because that was what stuck out to me. And I can't remember if I'm guessing Eleanor or Marianne had to be there to get that point of view, because we don't really see
Yeah,
things from the male point of view.
yeah.
So I'm guessing that if that was something I actually remembered rather than just
I
fake
don't know.
remembered.
Yeah, I don't know. See, now one of the things that I Googled is saying that that's his illegitimate daughter, but that's
So,
on, like, a so I don't
okay. So
know.
the wiki went down this rabbit hole of Jane Austen had a cousin who was named Eliza, and she
Okay.
was the ward of a colonel that was also sent to India that
Interesting.
was similar to Colonel Brandon, but it was rumored that Eliza, the ward, was this random colonel's illegitimate daughter,
Which would make sense.
and that he just took her under his wing, saying that that was his ward. But so that was what they had said, that maybe Colonel Brandon was actually what I thought was Beth, but maybe Eliza's father.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Because we
Hmm.
do know that Jane Austen did draw on some things from her own life to put into
Yes.
books. So
Yes.
it very well could be that she wrote that in.
That's kinda cool.
She gave them all
Maybe
happy,
less cool
happy endings,
maybe not cool for them to read it in her book.
right?
Be like, "Wait, that's us."
And I also looked, and it was originally published by a lady. Like, that was how it was. It didn't say her name. It just said
A lady.
the author was a
Oh.
lady.
Hmm.
So I was like, that's interesting, because the wiki, I think, had the first page of the first edition.
Interesting. That's really cool.
So
And
maybe
makes
they
sense
didn't
for the
know who it
time.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Kinda like, was it in Bridgerton, Miss Whistledown?
Yeah. Use those pen names. I mean, that was common back then. And
Mhm.
did people really read a lot of novels then? I guess
I don't
yes.
know.
No.
Maybe it was starting to be more because the printing press and everything,
Hmm.
more
Like,
and
when was
more,
the
and I
printing
don't know.
press? That was like Gutenberg, right? Like, that was,
I don't
I
know.
thought that was like the 1600s.
Printing press when? Let's see here. It's even better. The 1400s. Okay, so never mind.
Well,
Okay, it's
okay.
not
So
that.
clearly 400 years later, they could.
So, yes, they had lots of
Yes.
novels by then. Well, and I can't believe I didn't think about this because, like, during the Spanish Inquisition, there were book burnings um, during Henry VIII's time, and Queen Mary, like, his daughter, when Queen Mary, like, there were different books that were illegal to have. I don't know what I'm thinking, the early 1800s. Like, anyway,
I was like, the cotton gin maybe was the late
yeah,
1800s.
that
But
well, yeah, yeah. But this is early 1800s. When did this come out? I know it was early 1800s, I'm pretty sure.
I think I read that it was 1810,
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
You're probably right. 1811, yeah,
Okay.
is when it was published. So, yeah.
But I think it was published in the early 1800s. It still is relevant today.
It is.
Like, you can see, like, just the love story is still,
Mhm.
it was still good. It still held my attention watching the movie. I don't know clearly if I read the book and don't really remember it until I read that one part or saw that one part of the movie.
Mhm.
Maybe it didn't stick with me that much, but having watched the movie, I think it's something that I can say that I would enjoy. And I really feel like I just have a deep-seated, not hatred of Jane Austen, but like I'm not supposed to like her is how I feel. Like it feels like I'm reading a school book. And that's
Well,
part
for
of
a lot
why.
of people it is. See, and I didn't
And
have
that
to read any of these in school ever.
I feel like we read Wuthering Heights, which is totally different. Um, and I feel like we read one of the Jane Austen books, but I don't remember. It might have been Pride and Prejudice, but it feels like I'm in school whenever I read a Jane Austen book.
It's so sad.
It is. And that's why I think sometimes it's hard whenever you're forcing someone to read something and they don't want to, because then it feels
Yeah.
like a punishment and then it sticks with them that Jane Austen is only for an English class and not for fun.
Yeah, it does. I know. This book, and the thing with these two, I do better reading physical copies of them. It feels weird for me to read them like on an iPad or on a Kindle. So I don't know. But then now, like, but the fonts are so small, like, you know. But yeah, I think that that helps me for the experience of like holding the book, makes it more, I don't know, timely. But yeah, I don't know. But I do have to be in the right mood. Like if I'm not in the right mood, it's a chore. If I'm in the right mood, it's just a delight.
So I
But
was very glad that you gave me the option of watching the movie because I think that was what my soul needed at the time.
well, I
And
couldn't believe you hadn't seen it because it is still one of my favorite movies. I love it. I already had watched it at least once this year. I watch it at least a couple of times a year because I just enjoy it. And I love the music from it, which this is another thing too. Okay, this is funny. Tara Lipinski at the 1998 Olympics, her long program, I think, or no, it wasn't the Olympics. It was 1997 US Championships. Her long program took music from Sense and Sensibility and another movie as well. And so, anyway, I remember that because I loved this movie. And so I loved the music. And then we had the CD. I think we had the CD, and my mom would put it on in the house. So, like, I love the music from this movie. And if I hear stuff from this movie, I know that's Sense and
I
Sensibility.
don't know if I recognized the music, like if I would remember what it was if I heard it. Because I know that Marianne sings and plays the piano.
Well, I'm not even talking about that, but like just the background and like at the end, the music at the end, like I'm like, I would recognize that anywhere. Anyway, I don't know.
Now I need to watch it again so I can just listen
Apparently
to the
you do.
music.
Yep. Yep. Or just go on Spotify and find a playlist
There
because
you
I'm sure
go.
there is
That's
one.
probably way smarter because I couldn't find it um, anywhere on any streaming service that I have. So
Mm,
I rented it from Amazon. But
gotcha. Yeah. I own it on iTunes. So,
forever,
forever and ever. All right. Well, I guess that's about it for our talk about Sense and Sensibility.
which was our August book. But hey, here we are at the end of September talking about it. It's all good.
It's all good. Okay, so our next episode is going to be our quarter end, right?
Yes, I know. It's already that time again, friends. I can't believe 3 months has passed. The next time we do this, it'll be
It'll be the end of
December.
the
It'll be the
Yeah,
end of the year, and we'll be doing our year-end wrap-up, which
crazy.
blows my mind.
Me too. Me too.
It goes so fast. It goes
It
so,
really
so
does.
fast.
So yeah.
So yeah,
All
so
right.
we'll go ahead and sign off for today, and we'll see you guys next week for our quarter 3 wrap-up and books that we loved and some that we didn't.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So thank you for listening to More Than a Book Club podcast. We are recorded and produced in McKinney, Texas.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.